Okay. So, yesterday we did a relative frequency histogram. Today we're going to do a frequency polygon and an ogive. So let's start with a frequency polygon, and we're going to do some pointers about what it looks like first. So what does it look like? A frequency polygon looks like a line graph. Let's write it down, a line graph. That ends up being a polygon, which is like a complete shape. Okay, and I'll show you how. Okay, so looks like a line graph. If ends up being a complete polygon or shape. The x-axis is frequency. No, sorry, the x-axis is your classes. And you have to use class boundaries there. Do you remember what class boundaries are? What are they? Right, that plus or minus 0.5 depending on where you are. Y-axis is frequency. All right, and for the remember part, I'm going to write, remember, the dot goes on the upper boundary of the class. I'll explain that in just a second. Okay. All right, so let's make this nice and easy. All right, you're going to put a break in the axis, like usual. We're going to treat it just like a bar graph, where we're going to have a certain amount of bars. How many are this? What we're doing, like 4, right? Make a little bit more space there. All right, so we've got, that's our first bar, second bar, third bar, fourth bar. And I think you actually do, if I'm right, yeah, you do 1 extra. So you're going to put in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 dashes here, which is kind of 2 extra than the points or than the classes we have. Do you remember we have 4 classes in this? Okay. So, here are our classes again. What's the class boundary between 2 and 3? 2.5. So everybody on that second dash, you're going to write 2.5. Good. And then what comes next? 5.5. 8.5. And 11.5. Okay, so what about this one back here? Yep, negative 0.5. That's a little bit below 0. Do you see how these are jumping all by 3, right? Because our class width is 3. So what's this one? I know, it feels weird, right? Because our data isn't even up that high, but you do need it. All right, going back to the frequency. Which one is the frequency in this thing? Right, but I mean, like, which column here? the third column, where it just tells you the totals, right? Frequency means total, how often it happens. So on the side, make sure that we are going up to 3. So 1, 2, 3. I'm going to put frequency over here. Now the frequency goes on the upper bound of the class. Do you remember how we wrote that in our special notes, the things to remember? So look at this. Everybody look up. Do you see how it says 0 to 2? Normally if I was making a bar graph, I would put the bar right here, right? Between, like it would go between 0 and 2.5. But we're going to put it on the upper portion of the boundary, which is 2.5, so I'm going to put a dot on 3. And then on 5.5, what should it be? Same thing. Crystal, would you go grab the rulers over there underneath dibs and give a ruler to everybody? This one's a 2. Goes down to a 1. Cool. And here's what you're going to do, and I do actually want you to use a straight edge. It doesn't have to be a ruler, but it does have to be a straight edge. And you can keep these rulers until the end of the class if you want to. Or you can return them every day. You know better than I do if they're going to break in your backpack or not. So because it's a frequency polygon, at the beginning you start at 0, like that. And then you start connecting the dots. Oh, I didn't put it at the right height there. It should have been there. It should have been a straight line. Do you guys understand now what I meant when I said at the end it's a shape? Do you see how it starts at 0 and it ends at 0? It doesn't end up hanging in the air.